It happened in just a heartbeat, a blink and you miss it moment. But the impact? It rolled through the Sister Wives fandom like thunder cracking across a quiet sky. The cameras were rolling, the family deep in conversation, when Aspyn Brown turned to her sister with a calm, steady voice and said, "I'm talking about Mom right now, not about you." It wasn't a throwaway line or a sibling jab. No, it was a turning of the wind, a line in the sand, a quiet daughter taking a stand and voicing the words so many fans had been quietly screaming for years. And everyone who watched knew precisely who that line was aimed at: Mykelti Brown Padron. Hi, all. Welcome back to Sister Wives Daily. I'm Mary. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the thumbs up on this video. It literally helps spread this tale to still more people who've been following along with each twist in this family saga. And tell me in the comments, did you catch that moment as much as I did? Because here's the thing, this wasn't about shutting down a chatty sister. This was about power, attention, loyalty, years of simmering tension that had been bubbling just below the surface. Aspyn, who usually just sat back and let other people do the talking, had finally reached her breaking point. And in that instant, she stood up for her mother, Christine, and maybe even for the viewers who have watched Mykelti get noticed over and over again. It felt like a turning point, the sort of moment that you'll look back on and say, that's when things began to change. But that's just what we saw on the surface. Behind the scenes, this was a spark igniting years of building resentment, favoritism, jealousy, and the resources Christine's daughters have been quietly stockpiling all along. For years, the Aspyn-Mykelti dynamic has been simple to overlook. It's been written off as naive sister-sibling rivalry, but seasoned viewers caught on to the indicative cues: the lightning-fast eye rolls, the lip-tight pregnant pauses, the way Aspyn would take herself out of the equation while Mykelti pushed forward, starving to talk, steering the moment onto herself even when it wasn't hers to claim. And then came the clapback. It came during a discussion about Christine's whirlwind romance with David Woolley. The kids were struggling to understand how fast it all had transpired, how quickly their mom had rushed into remarrying following years with Cody. It was raw, emotional. This was not casual conversation. This was an open, sensitive discussion. And right in the middle of it, Mykelti veered off course, turning the spotlight to her own story, her engagement to Tony after just 2 months, as if their mother's life-changing decision needed to be filtered through her perspective first. That's when Aspyn stepped in. No raised voice, no theatrics, just steady truth. I'm talking about Mom right now, not about you. For the first time, Aspyn owned the emotional space, and audiences paid attention. On Reddit, the scene went viral. Thread after thread praised Aspyn for saying what so many had wanted to say. One commenter nailed it. You can tell they've had this conversation behind closed doors a million times. Others compared Mykelti to a mini Cody, observing that she would take over the room and steer attention back her way. And for real? Who said it first, Aspyn or Isabel, isn't even the issue. What matters is the trend, and that, finally, someone from the inside is talking loud and clear. Aspyn's declaration didn't halt the discussion in its tracks. It opened something up. She put a line in the sand, a sister taking back space that had been talked over for far too long. Christine's transformation from spiritually depleted sister wife to strong, happy woman has been one of the greatest transformations ever offered on Sister Wives. For years, she was pushed to the side, spoken over, and emotionally disregarded by Cody. But finally, she had enough. And when she left, it wasn't a question of changing addresses. It was a rebirth. She traded isolation for self-worth. She abandoned an abused system and stepped into peace. And she never turned around. What moved the fans most was how her daughters showed up for her during that transition, especially Aspyn, quiet, observant Aspyn, who has seen it all and still held firmly at her mother's side, not just with words, but in body, in vibe, in pure devotion. When Aspyn joined Christine in Utah, she didn't attempt to upstage. She just helped. She listened. She made space for her mom's emotions. Even when her mom was organizing a wedding for Christine and David Woolley, Aspyn was down to earth, her focus always on making her mom feel special and loved. And then there's Mykelti, whose taste couldn't have been more different. While Aspyn lifted her mom up, Mykelti hijacked the moment frequently, from insisting on a farewell party during the Flagstaff move, knowing Christine didn't want to say goodbye to Cody and Robyn, to constantly inserting herself into discussions when her opinion wasn't required. It was more often than not that Mykelti propped her mom's experience through her own. Even in planning the wedding, there were moments when her excitement deflected focus from Christine's joy to hers, or her own memories and opinions. She isn't being critical of her mom. She isn't saying she doesn't care about her mom. But love without emotional intelligence could be less support and more interference. That's contrast. Aspyn knows when to speak and when to be silent. Her loyalty is subtle, yet true. And no wonder that Christine's own strength is the same kind of quiet rebellion. The thread traces back to Christine's mother, Annie, who also escaped polygamy years ago. When that footage from the ancient documentary of Annie made its appearance, it was haunting. She had spoken of fear, of shame, and of the smothering silence which clings to life within plural marriage. Her words could have been Christine's, and just as Annie had the courage to break the cycle, so too is Christine, with Aspyn at her side, standing in the fire, holding the line, not allowing her mother's new beginning to be tainted. And then there's Robyn Brown. The viewers have learned to read her face like a book. She can mask it with a smile or a roll of her eyes, but the truth always manages to escape in a look, in a hesitation, and increasingly, her body language has been shouting louder than words, especially in regard to Cody's attentions towards her daughters. One moment especially had the fandom buzzing, Cody embracing Brianna in a simple old hug, and Robyn visibly upset, looking like she'd been betrayed. For most parents, father hug to daughter is nothing, not even worth noting, but viewers of Sister Wives saw something else. The moment Cody hugged Brianna, Robyn's expression altered. Her eyes didn't roll, they slammed shut. Her smile twisted, strained, false, and the camera caught all of it. A single isolated shot reached Reddit in warp speed. She looked like she wanted to claw his eyes out, one fan wrote. Others pointed out this wasn't the first time, not even close. Go back to game night earlier in the season, and you'll see it again. The death stares, the cold glances, that unmistakable tension that seeps into the room anytime Cody engages with someone in a way Robyn didn't initiate or control. Some viewers believe it is jealousy, others call it jealousy. Others see it as Robyn's quiet but relentless fight to keep her place at the head of Cody's emotional hierarchy. Now that the other wives are gone and the dynamics of this family have all been remapped. But here's the one that gets closer to stinging the more you pay attention. It's not only the audience sensing these undertows, the children are observing. They sense it in real time. In those tense, unspoken moments, Aurora, Ari, even little Solomon, they don't just react naturally. They glance toward Robyn first, almost like they're waiting for a silent signal, a subtle nod, a shift in expression, something that tells them how they should respond. It's quick, almost invisible unless you're looking for it, but it's there, and it's unsettling, because kids shouldn't have to dial their emotional settings to match a parent's. They shouldn't have to experiment to see if it's safe to smile or if a laugh will be misconstrued. But here, it appears that Robyn's unspoken emotional rules rule not just the tone of the room, but the way her kids interact with Cody himself. And the more tightly Robyn holds on to Cody, the more tightly these moments, silent glares, or obligatory smiles, reveal to us something she probably doesn't want us to see: abiding insecurity. And insecurity has a way of getting louder the more you try to keep it quiet. The harder she fights to keep control, the more we can observe how her grip is slipping away. People see it, the kids feel it, and even Cody, whether he will ever acknowledge it or not, reacts to it in his own way. And then there is the deafening silence, a name that was once a part of this family's story, now cut out of the script: Dayton. There was a time when he was simply part of the background beat, showing up in scenes of family, contributing his silent commentary to conversation, coming in for holidays and weekends. He was never always in the spotlight, but he existed. Now, he's a ghost in this tale. No screen time, no mentions, no updates. It's painful to watch when you see how much attention Cody showers Brianna and Aurora. Emotional pep talks, protective shields, one-on-one time shot in private that is witnessed and replayed. He doesn't just father them, he advocates for them, loudly and publicly, like we never witnessed him with his biological children. It might look noble at first glance, but the imbalance is too great to ignore. Brianna gets sobbing heart-to-hearts, Aurora gets regular check-ins, and Dayton, whom Cody formally adopted, who used to be in the middle of this mixed family, gets nothing. Fans haven't forgotten that there was a time when Dayton and Cody did appear extremely close. Back in the Vegas days, he was part of the activities, the road trips, the fun. Even at the Flagstaff Move chaos, he was there. Split the RV with Robyn. Something shifted somewhere along the way. We didn't see him on television anymore. His name did not come up in our discussions anymore. And as Cody became more and more emotionally invested in Brianna and Aurora, Dayton quietly fell out of the picture. Some theorized Dayton's neurodivergence could have unsettled Cody over time, that he didn't know how to connect with him in an effortless manner. Others are certain it was the RV years that took things too far. Robyn herself once admitted that time was especially bad for Dayton, and while his sisters grasped for Cody for comfort, Dayton may have chosen distance. And Cody did not bridge the space. He did not follow him. He did not bring him back into the fold. That's the hard pill for viewers. It's not just that Dayton is no longer on screen, it's that his absence appears to be a choice. Cody pontificates about Brianna and Aurora as if they're the entire universe to him, but in circumstances where family unity is concerned, Dayton's name does not come up. The favoritism is not covert. It's painted on in large can't-miss strokes in each episode, and people see it because love, real love, is not about who is easiest to be with. It's about showing up over and over, even when it's complicated. And with Dayton, the silence isn't even on display. It's the loudest thing in the room. What do you think is really going on with Cody, Robyn, and Dayton's disappearance? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.